Sonic Colors Ultimate. It's alright. I don't know, what do you think, Staria? It's alright. So, Sonic Team has finally given us something to chew on with the release of the new Sonic Colors Ultimate, and it's fine. It's something, I guess. It's tolerable. I mean, the last thing Sonic Team has given us was Team Sonic Racing back in 2019, and let's be honest, who even bothered to buy that?
I did. What? I mean, who would buy that? Lamau.
So, I picked up the digital deluxe version of the game for the Switch to see what was up, to see what changes or upgrades were made to the gameplay, but also because I really like this game. I grew up playing Colors on the Wii alongside Unleashed and Generations for the 360, and I know what you're thinking, I'm nostalgia bias. Yeah, that's fair. I am heavily nostalgic for all three of these games, but Sonic Colors is a game that gave me hours of entertainment back in the heyday of the Wii. Hunting for the last remaining Red Star rings post-game are some of my favorite memories with the game, full stop. But today,
We're not going to be talking about the levels or unlockables, writing or anything really associated with the original game. One, because I want to talk about the remaster for its own efforts and not the efforts made back almost 11 years ago. And Jesus Christ, Sonic Colors is almost 11 years old! It's a minor!
And B, it deserves a whole other video that I could make down the line. So we're gonna be talking about the new features that this remaster holds for us. And since I just paid $40 to buy this game twice for a digital deluxe, I'm hoping it's worth it. How did you get your copy, Staria?
Oh, I game shared.
So, after booting up the title screen, which throws out the multiple save files feature from the original, glad to see they're already making improvements, we're thrown straight into Tropical Resort Act 1, just like the original. Oh. Yeah, this is my first major problem with the game. Its load times are horrendous. Now, I'm not sure if this is a next-gen game running on the Switch, or it's the new lighting engine making everything run weird. And no, I'm not talking about the CG glitch, although that is a problem. These load times are bordering on 06 territory. I get that this was a game designed for the Xbox One and PS4, so the Switch doesn't have that much power, but this is also a game that was made for the Wii in 2010. So if an engine made in 2021 can't handle a Wii game, then maybe you should reconsider using that engine. Heck, making a remaster at all. Oh, and by the way, this problem is mainly just on the Switch version of the game, but apparently the first time you boot up a level on the PS4 and Xbox One version, it's about the same time, but only on the first level you select. I can't speak for the PS5 and Series X versions though, and I'm not gonna bother to look it up because screw you. Something I did notice on the title screen, however, was the new remix music in the game. For some reason, Sonic Team thought it would be a good idea to make a new remix soundtrack for a game with one of the most beloved OST in the whole of Sonic, with no way to turn it off. Now, this is not one of Sega's best ideas, not that they have many in the first place, but there you go. Sonic Colors OST wasn't outdated or anything. In fact, I'd argue that the instruments used are probably more relevant now than they were in 2010. So it's a very risky move. I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying it's very thin ice. And as you'll soon see, it's an ice that Tomoya Atani fails to tread. Multiple times. 3 words. EDM. Well, technically it's not 3 words, it's an acronym, but I don't care though. A big trend with Otani of recent is the use of EDM, or electronic dance music. I don't like EDM, like at all. I will never like EDM, and I don't like it in Sonic. Especially when that wasn't the intent of the original tracks. It just feels like either Sonic Team was pushing the composure to make things more EDM to get with the kids or something, or Otani just really got into EDM. I would say option 2 is a very Sega thing to do, but these EDM tracks are just with Otani's work. If you listen to what, let's say, Jun Sonoye did, it sounds just like something ripped out of an adventure game. And if anybody knows anything about me, it's that I know me some mid-2000s butt rock. So yeah, Sonic Adventure. Love this game. I love it. I love it. Every part of it. big fishing,
I think IGN rated this like almost the worst.
Yeah. But again, that's just my opinion, so. Yeah, no. Overall, the music for Tropical Resort Act 1 is fine. It pretty much has the same beats as the original, except for, ironically, the beat itself. Oh, and this really out-of-place piano line. Believe me, I love some cheeky piano in my rock from time to time, but this just reminds me of that one chord in Planet Whisp where I swear the pianist hit a wrong note. Like, that wasn't just me, was it? Like, that chord is off. So anyway, after the loading screen finishes, we finally get to play some classic Sonic Colors action, and oh my god! So, here's the most obvious problem. The lighting makes it look like Sonic's glowing. The models in this game look mostly fine, bar a few exceptions. Although, during these startup animations at the beginning of the levels, we get these super close-up shots of Sonic, and it wasn't really that noticeable in the original, but there are absolutely zero facial animations during this, and it's really noticeable. Like, Sonic's mouth is welded shut. And it's especially noticeable when the game adds these new close-up camera angle shots that weren't in the original. It gives me big Smash 4 vibes in, like, the worst possible way. The animations, not the camera, although there was a lot of popping when that happens. These models are just upscaled from the original, which isn't really obvious with things like these really well done close-ups in Asteroid Coaster, I will actually say that. But other times, it can be blatantly obvious, especially with the cutscenes. And again, don't worry, we'll get to that soon, but the main problem right now is textures and lighting, so cross that bridge when we get to it. So what's blatantly clear is the extreme lighting and the overuse of bloom. If you don't know what bloom is, hi, this must be the first time you've heard of Colors Ultimate. Run. This was most likely due to the blind swirl engine this port uses. I assume they couldn't get the original game engine since either it wasn't powerful enough or they need to license it from Nintendo. My bet's on option 2. So they instead partnered with Blind Squirrel, took a look at their engine, gave them a deadline and said, make it work. Spoilers, does not work. Okay, that's a bit of a lie. In some areas, I must say I prefer the new lighting over the original. Especially once I turned on full RGB range on my Switch. Sorry, I forgot to do this while recording the footage. I'm sorry if it's a big deal for you, but I really don't care. But that's not to say it's always a 100% graphical masterpiece. I wouldn't describe the lighting as bad as I would describe it as different. Did I say describe it? I'm gonna have to look through the audio on that. It's not exactly going for the game you know and love with modern graphical improvements, baby. It's going for more of a, okay, we're gonna get weird and change some stuff around, try and make it look like a new game. If it doesn't work, fuck it. Blame Blind Squirrel, they made it. But it really doesn't do enough to make it a spectacle to behold. I mean, don't get me wrong, moments like these are gorgeous, but do you see that? It's supposed to look good. Don't upscale your 420p texture to 900 and expect it to look like The Last of Us 2. Cause it doesn't. Some areas are too dark, some areas are too bright, everything is glowing, and of course, bugs! My favorite. The bugs are an issue, and we'll get to them when they become a problem, but for now, everything is fine. Weird lighting aside, the graphics look pretty good, it plays just like Sonic Colors, for better or for worse, and if you can overlook some inconveniences, it's Tropical Resort at the end of the day. Is it perfect? No, the backgrounds look too dark green and the music is EDM trash. I would have much preferred an upscaled version of the game with full RGB range and call it a day, but if you play Sonic Colors purely for its gameplay, everything is still here. However, Colors Ultimate doesn't really do anything to enhance the gameplay, especially because that's pretty much the only hook they have to attract the long-time fans. You have your jump, your weird double jump, air dash please, slide, homing attack, boost, drift, etc. But it does add one new feature, which I am dubbing the Rainbow Dash. If it has a name, I'm sorry, but I really don't care. It's a Sonic game, grow up. What this does is it adds a green circle to the main homing target, and if you activate a homing attack when the pointer is at this window, it'll perform the Rainbow Dash, which nets you extra points and gives you a little bit of boost. I love this mechanic so much. It's like a mini quick time event every time you use it, but without having any of the annoyance because you don't have to look down at your controller to figure out which button you have to press so it doesn't break your flow. It's a great risk-reward system. And also, it's just so satisfying to pull off. Take a listen to that sound effect. Oh, and did I forget to mention that the game audio's mixing is terrible? Whoopsie. You know what? I'm putting too much stuff in one section. I'm sure we can get around to all that in a later segment. Anyway, we finish up Act 2 and... No! They didn't even bother to re-render the cutscenes in the new engine. They instead grabbed the 420p Wii files and upscaled them to 900 with AI. Do you know what I said about this shot of Earth in Act 1? Well, that's it. That's what the whole cutscenes are. A bunch of awkward stray pixels and not enough detail. And what's worse is that they didn't even change the gradients to match the look of the Blind Squirrel engine. So they look more out of place because they were rendered in the original Hedgehog engine. I assume they used the Hedgehog engine for colors. I can't be bothered to check that out. And you can't even make the excuse that they lost the original game files, that they had no other choice, because they haven't. The PC port has the assets and data of the cutscene, so there's absolutely no excuse. Anyway, I don't care anymore. The new soundtrack changes to the original for Act 3, then turns back again for Act 4, and then back again for Acts 5 and 6. The boss theme kicks ass, even though the fight is piss easy. Thanks, Jun Sonoya, you beautiful bastard. I have a headache. Staria, please take over before I die.
So as we go into the hub for Sweet Mountain, we can see that, oh Jesus Christ, the hub is too bright. I repeat, the hub is too bright. So Sweet Mountain is pretty much what it says it is on the tin. It's Sweet Mountain, but with a graphical glow up. And by glow up, I mean it's literally glowing. I mean, Jesus. Look at that sky. You'll witness the full power of Jesus Christ coming down from the heavens, and it will burn your retinas out. This isn't a deal breaker though. You can turn down the brightness in the video settings, but this is probably the worst example of the bloom effect in the game. Contrary to this though, the rest of the graphics in the level are pretty sweet, pun entirely intended. The road has an orange cozy color, which really blends well with the sky and the background. Speaking of the background, I think the background does a really good job of conveying of where you are and what the themes are like. It's colorful, vibrant, and has some amazing attention to detail. Actually, scratch that. These jelly bean containers are clearly PNGs. Like, what if it killed them to rig the jelly beans like a model? Actually, I have the same problem with the white Whisp containers. They're just PNGs. You have the models and animations from Forces. Just rip them out and smack them there. Please. Normally, these beam machines appear in the second platforming sections. Usually, you'd be able to zip past the backgrounds in 3D, as because you're going so fast that you'd never notice them. But when these show up, you'll be slowly platforming through obstacles, so it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. In the original, this wouldn't be a problem since the original display was 420p, but now because of the game, it literally runs at 2 times the display, so it's way more noticeable. The same problem goes for the front of the candy missiles, but now you even freeze frame in front of them before the quick time events even show up, so you get even more distracted by them. I use quotation marks because all you do is still mash A again. Nothing game breaking, just something I thought stood out. Anyway, the remix to Act 1 is well, different, I must say. I'm not saying it's bad compared to the original, but they definitely messed up with the ups and downs. The brass instruments for this is weird. Automated digital trumpet that sounds like it was made in a garage band. On the contrary, however, this version does feel more energetic and fast-paced, with more rapid drum beat and a crazy off-rails piano. In fact, all of the new remix tracks have this. It's almost like an actual sugar rush put into a song, which is clearly what the stage theme was going for. Ah, damn it. Sonic Colors came out before Wreck-It Ralph. They should have called it Sugar Rush. This brings up another problem I have, in that the controls really need some tweaking. Sometimes I'll be turning all I can, and it won't move. Other times, I'll make the slight move, and it'll push me to the other side of the wall. I get the drift is supposed to be difficult, but there's a line between different and frustrating to use. Something else that's strange about the drifts is that it's mapped with the boost button, rather than the bumpers like in, I don't know, every boost game. It just doesn't feel right. I get that the Wii version did it because the controller was literally a brick, but now we have a full remote to use. They also for some reason switched the boost and stomp button around. Why? Why did you do that? It just makes it blatantly obvious to the fans that it wasn't made by Sonic Team. If you didn't know you could switch the button layout in the control settings,
Lord have mercy on you.
I hope that they'll give us more control settings in later updates or something, but this is Sonic Team we're talking about. Takashi Iizuka tried to get us to pay for Super Sonic and Forces as DLC. For crying out loud, the sky's the limit now that cosmetics are apparently a thing. Seriously, look at me dead in the eyes and tell me this wasn't used for kids to buy DLC. It's disgusting and I hate this! Anyway, other than that, it plays the same way how you'd expect it. There's an odd glitch in here and there, but after Tropical Resort, you kind of get used to it after a while. That still doesn't excuse it. But the biggest one I noticed while playing was that the Whisp music for the drill wouldn't play. In fact, this continues with all Wisps in the entire game. Got the new Ghost Wisp? Awkward silence. Looking forward to playing the Hover Wisp theme? Awkward silence. This is horrible pace breaking, and this is probably one of the most distracting things in the game.
You know that feeling when you're playing Tony Hawk and you just turn on streamer mode for the hell of it and the ambience just makes everything feel empty? Well, that's this. Except it's a Sonic game, so it's 10 times worse.
I'm sorry. I'll just move on.
Now, from the very beginning of Starlight Carnival, anyone who's played the original can tell you that something's off here. The white lighting has been turned up so much that the rainbow track Sonic's forced to run on has now become a tinted white. Everything else about the visuals looks great though, especially with the new Blind Squirrel lighting engine. I think it really suits this level, although it can get a bit into sensory overload territory at times, especially with the new boost motion blur.
Feeling good!
The opening still doesn't allow any movement on the first bit of the track, meaning that in Act 1 you can get a solid 15 seconds throughout the level without touching the controls once. And when you do get control, all you can do is move left and right. I mean, you can jump, but it has absolutely no use in these sections, and the boost gauge is empty from the start of the level, unlike in Generations and Unleashed, so there's really nothing for you to do still. So all you can do is drag Sonic along until one of the robots fires at you, and then you just move out the way. There's still far too much automation in Starlight Carnival, and the remaster did nothing to fix that. I get it was a problem with the original game, but if you're supposed to deliver a refined experience, shouldn't that mean that you fix the problems that the original had? Even if it was just starting with a full boost gauge, again, like in Generations and Unleashed. I get this my opinion, but also, at least it would give you something to do. Actually, now that I think about it, the full boost gauge wasn't in Forces either. I'm starting to see a pattern here, Sega. Anyway, actually on to the quick stepping sections. The quick step is weirdly mapped to the analog stick rather than the bumpers. Heck, even the D-pad. This made me screw up these robots on my first playthrough, and it doesn't get better in the later stages, especially with this section in Planet Whisp and the mini-boss in Aquarium Pop. Small stuff like this and the boost button being mapped to the stomp button makes it blatantly clear that this wasn't made by Sonic Team. Again, I'm not blaming Blind Squirrel, I'm just saying they probably should have done a bit of their homework. The music, in my opinion, is a big upgrade to the original track, so big ups to Tamaya Atani for this one. Keywords being this one, I don't think this does any harm to the Wii version because the original was made to already sound quite electronic, so a remix doesn't really do any harm to its Wii counterpart, unlike something like Planet Whisp Act 1, but don't worry, we'll get to that later, Otani. So in Act 1, when you jump inside the shuttle, you now get access to the Cube Whisp. This is another problem that they had the opportunity to clean up but didn't, where when you use a Wisp, you freeze in place for a second and then change into your chosen Wisp form. I really wish that this change was instantaneous, like in Lost World 3DS for example. Imagine how much more fun it would be to hurl into a horde of enemies face first, and then activate a Frenzy Wisp last second, absolutely destroying all of them while still moving forward at the same momentum you were when you activated it. Or you're falling into a bottomless pit and you have enough speed to make it to a wall, so you activate the Spike Wisp to latch onto it and you climb up back onto the stage. I guarantee you, if the Wisp worked that way, it would have been 10 times more fun. Not to say that they're not already fun, but I think the Wisp work best when you're hunting for red star rings in the post-game rather than on your first playthrough. Anyway, we move on to the section with the flying motorbugs and we get another shot of the Earth, but this time during a beautiful, almost ecliptic sunrise. I gotta hand it to him. The Earth is definitely more cleaner than the one in Tropical Resort. You know, I really think this game is slowly shaping up for itself. I honestly think I might have been too harsh on it. I mean, it's self-improving throughout my playthrough, and that's gotta count for something. Oh, never mind, the game crashed. Wow, truly the definitive version of Sonic Colors. Am I right? Oh, and the cherry on the cake, moments after this happens,
God left me unfinished!
I'd like to clarify that this is not a one-time glitch. When I played it for the rival rushes and the red star rings, it happened every single time. I'm sorry, but this game is lazier than 06, because at least 06 tried. This, it already had 50% of the work done for them. And they still fucked it. The only glue holding it together is the fact that it's Sonic Colors. And I love Sonic Colors, but this is inexcusable. And so is this! No, that's not a glitch. I don't need to explain why this is bad. I don't need to explain why this is bad. Sonic crouches on air and still managed to break the laws of physics in space. Is that even possible?
So we jump into the hub map for Planet Wisp and... What?
Listen. Perfection.
But do you want to know what's not perfection?
Will my torment ever... Oh,
The music is far too EDM for Planet Wisp, The original was calm and gentle for a reason. It was supposed to be a calm, peaceful planet transitioning into Eggman's mechanical renovations, and the music perfectly reflected that. This is just unnecessary drum beats and trap elements where it doesn't belong. Since this is probably one of the most beloved stages by the fans, I think they were trying to go for, oh yeah, Planet Whisp time, baby. But Planet Whisp worked because it was more low-key and calming, with hints of the iconic Sonic charm slipping through the cracks. This just makes it feel more like an EDM rave, and the DJ really loves Sonic colors a bit too much. Not to mention, this track is only in the digital exclusive version of the game. Like, what? Not only is this the scummiest thing I've ever seen Sega do, but paying $5 more for a movie Sonic skin and a few tracks, it actually makes me want to buy the normal edition more because the music is worse. Either they didn't have enough content to warrant a digital deluxe, so they took 3 tracks from Planet Whisp and made it a selling point, or they knew fans loved Planet Whisp so much they held the new tracks hostage to squeeze an extra $5 out of the die-hard fans' pocket. Well, you know what, Sega? Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me. I'm not getting the digital deluxe version of the game because I game shared.
Go away, Staria, please.
Yeah, who looks like the fool for buying a Sonic game now, bitch? Anyway, we boot up Act 1 and the opening menu froze when we started the stage. Good sign so far. On the first section of Act 1, there's some choppy frame rates and some fog flickering. I'm glad to see Uncharted 4 can look so amazing as this, while Sonic Colors, a game made in 2010, fails to render grass at a 900p resolution without having a seizure. I mean, to be fair, this is running on the Switch. I shouldn't be comparing it to something that can run Halo Infinite or Spider-Man PS4. Never mind, the PS4, 5, Xbox One, and Series X still have the same problems. Okay, this is the death of Blind Squirrel. On the bright side though, aside from a fairly frequent frame drops, the stage looks pretty good. I think Planet Whisp and Generations did the overall colors better, but overall nothing too horrendous. Although I must say, the normal lighting is mostly fine in this stage. The shadows can get way too dark in some areas. Most notably in this area in Act 1, where you run past the generator in the distance. I get it's meant to be dark, but it just looks unappealing, although it's nothing too game-breaking. Like the pop-in in Starlight Carnival, it's just a little something to take note for a patch or something. Either worsens the experience or straight up pulls you out entirely. We unlock the Spike Wisp and finish Act 1. We start off Act 2 and... oh. This music is actually pretty good. It gives off even a slower, comforting, natural yet digital feel, like a melancholy mixed with fresh air. For Act 2, there's nothing to write home about. I swear, these robots didn't fire as fast as the original, but to make up to it, their projectiles become unintractable as soon as they hit the ground. I can't remember if this was in the original or not, so don't take my word for it, but I swear, something feels off here. I also encountered this glitch where the Jade Ghost, we'll get to that later, where even though I was right next to it, the Redisol wouldn't appear. I couldn't take the secret route and get the red ring, so that was fun. And yes, I tried this 3 times, I got the same results. But other than that, everything ran mostly fine. The visuals looked nice, the backgrounds are nicely done considering the original Wii hardware overall. Nothing groundbreaking, but a bit buggy, but overall pretty enjoyable. Wait, we can't finish this section of the review without saying something cynical. What are those cubes made from? Piss?
I've always had a soft spot for Aquarium Pop. I don't know why, but the calming Japanese underwater atmosphere just gives off a feeling that can only be described as comforting wonder. When Colors Ultimate was announced, I was unbelievably worried for Aquarium Pop because the visuals shown in the trailer were highly unfinished, not to mention that there was no sign of it in the trailer. So I was paranoid that I was never gonna get that feeling I got playing it for the first time on the Wii. So, now I'm playing it for the first time on Ultimate. It's pretty damn solid. Again, I think it all comes down to the lighting engine and the fact that everything was upscaled. I feel like this stage could really have benefited from remodeling a few assets in the background, especially during the opening of Act 1, or midway through Act 6. I also feel like everything is a bit too grey and cloudy in these underwater tunnels. I think turning the contrast up in these sections would have made it far more pleasing to look at. All the buildings in Act 1 look absolutely brilliant. I also think that the Japanese lanterns pop out really well when I run past them. It just feels so warm and cozy. There's not the greatest sense of depth in the world, but to be fair, I am playing it on the Switch, so don't blame the developers or anything. In fact, the whole game is probably one of the nicest looking Switch games on my library, minus the bugs. I don't want to say that these sections look detailed per se, since most of the detailing comes from their textures, cause you know, Nintendo Wii game upscaled to 900p, but they do look nice in the grand scheme of things. It's just a shame that the motion blur hides most of the game's background charm when you're running past these environments. At first I was a bit skeptical about the Act 1 remix as Sonic Team posted it on their official YouTube channel before the release. I've never been too big of a fan of remixes, and the electronic drum bit seemed a little bit overdone at first, but eventually, it grew on me. I love the use of the shamisen instead of the synthesizer for the original. Probably Otani's most notable work in this game. I'm still pissed about Planet Whisp though, and I'm sorry, but Lo-Fi Speak With Your Heart was a mistake. I'm sorry, but also no regrets. There's still a lot of problems with the stage, as there is in all stages of the game. There's this weird glitch where a water effect will be applied to the whole screen instead of just the water when coming in and out. It's much more noticeable coming out of the water, and it really pulls you out of the immersion. This sticks around for Asteroid Coaster as well, except it's even more noticeable there because blue isn't even the main color scheme of the level. Enemies on this platforming section in Act 1 fall down from the top of the screen far too quickly compared to the original where they just gently fall down, giving you a chance to prepare and line up a shot. Here they just fall down instantly, and if you're standing in the wrong place, tough luck. Have fun not having fun while playing a video game, bitch. Also, again during the midway point of Act 6, there's these black lines which appear on this river road section. I checked and this isn't a one-off bug, but it happens every time, which is really annoying because this is one of the nicest looking bits in the game in my opinion. I'm pretty sure this also happened with the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World Complete Edition, and I should know. I was there at launch day. Also, just GG for everyone that had like max level Negascots. When that happened, like, I was really surprised. Oh, and another annoying bit is when playing this mini-boss in Act 4, there's this quick step section where you have to dodge this guy's laser beams whilst paying attention to the glowing spots in his back. And while that's fine, it's a good enough mini-boss in the original. And the only problem is that you'll never be able to tell where to dodge because the damn VFX won't render, which is the only way to tell if you're gonna get hit or not, so it's a complete game of chance whether you're gonna get hit. And if you get hit twice, that's it because the rings are so damn scarce in this section. Was this game even play tested? Am I going insane? Is this the new standard for Sonic games? Is this worse than Boom? No, Boom is absolute dog shit, but it's still fucking tried. But other than those nitpicks, for me at least, Aquarium Pop in this game, while not perfect, is probably the most beautiful part of Sonic Colors Ultimate, and one of the most beautiful parts in Sonic. Am I biased? Yes, absolutely. Is it perfect? God no. I never want to see this mini-boss again in my life. Thank God I got all the red rings in this stage so I never have to see this abomination again. But when the patches come out, when the visuals get tweaked, and the water gets less cloudy, and the fishes stop glitching, and the fucking VFX render, I believe that this stage can be a beautiful masterpiece of visual design like it was always meant to be. But that's with a lot of ifs and buts, so I can only hope that Sega will step it up and give Blind Squirrel the money to fix the mess that they forced them to make. But at least in my eyes, because I know what it can be, because I was raised in these aquatic temple walls, Aquarium Park will always be beautiful to me. But Jesus Christ, how did they fuck up a key part of the mini-boss so bad?
Time for Asteroid Coaster, the final planet of the game. You know it, you love it, and it's back for black, baby. Honestly, there's not much to say really. Asteroid Coaster blends in really well with the new game engine. The acid volcanoes are colorful yet frightening, sister, and the music for the most part is being mostly untouched aside for a louder drum beat and an extra synthesizer on the main hook. I'm glad to see Keiichitoko knows when less is more. I am so sorry if I butchered that, oh my god. I had to use Google Translate. Oh my god. Unlike a certain someone, the mushrooms glow a warm yet unsettling orange as you fly over eye-catching, sickly colored acid. The planet life gives a natural yet alien feel to them, as if you're trespassing on a world that you were never meant to step foot on. And this stage's visuals are sweet. I'd say this is one of the only stages that benefit from the engine upgrade. Everything just pops out more in contrast to the shadow caverns of the main path. Asteroid Coaster's visuals are, in my eyes, a solid upgrade and worthy successor to the original. Until you grab the frenzy wisp and the frame rate drops in half. Yeah, as good as Asteroid Coaster is, like all stages in this game, it still suffers from the same bugs. Certain sound effects won't play, like this checkpoint in Act 2. The water glitch from Aquarium Park shows up with a vengeance in Act 6, and it's way more noticeable this time. Disappearing platforms won't flicker to indicate when they're about to fade out, like in the original, but on the whole, Asteroid Coaster is probably the least offensive part of this remaster, at least from a playthrough. I encountered the least amount of bugs on this planet, and while that might be by chance, it also maintained its defiance when hunting red rings in the post-game. So I think I'm safe to say that this is a solid remaster for the original zone. I also feel like they needed to tweak the difficulty a bit. The player is supposed to think that this is the final zone of the game, but it's so easy to beat that the fake out ending is easy to see from a mile away. It does what it needs to do. Its visuals are interstellar, pun entirely intended. These sections where you latch onto asteroids are now extra fun with new homing attack mechanics. Its awesome music is maintained by an extra kick to it. Overall, Asteroid Coaster gets a pass from me, although the bugs do really bring the experience down a lot.
And now for the final level.
Terminal Velocity.
Honestly, there's not a lot to say for Terminal Velocity Act 1. It's one giant on-rails dodging segment where you flee from the amusement park. And again, it does a great job. All the little details in the background, the curved scaffolding, the planet staring you right in the face of the world behind you, the world you've been traversing this entire game screen with before your very own eyes. Fun stuff, you know? The only note I have for this stage is that there's this one shot where the camera pans to show Tropical Resort behind you, and it's another really badly rendered PNG, ironically like the one in Tropical Resort. It's really distracting. Not even the huge amounts of motion blur could hide this one, but other than that, it's great. It's got a good sense of depth, it's more colorful than the original, which I'm actually contemplating whether it's a good or bad thing in a game which is called Sonic Colors. Kinda dumb when you think about it. And the cherry on the cake, Terminal Velocity is the only stage in the game where I didn't encounter any bugs. Well, except for... I hate this! God! I'm done. Oh god, I dropped my... I dropped my headphones. But also, might I add, this music... it's perfect. Junsanori must have been having a fucking blast when he was recording this, because it sounds kick-ass, it fits perfectly with the stage, and it got stuck in my head for like 3 days straight after finishing this game. Taking a Spanish test, Terminal Velocity. Reading a book, Terminal Velocity. Playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 while blasting Ace of Spades by Motorhead. Bitch, I'm still thinking about Terminal Velocity. That's the power that Junsanori holds in his two godlike hands. Absolutely bless your soul, you beautiful man. You and all of Crush 420. And with that, comes the end game. The final boss of colors. Eggman's Nigger Wisp armor.
Whoa, Hazza, you can't say
Sorry, I swear to God, if you finish that fucking sentence, I will end you. It'll take all the tips you've learned and all the wisps you befriended to take him out and save their home. Here we are. The final battle. Are you ready, Staria?
ready as I'll ever be.
Then let's do this!
The final boss is still piss easy and doesn't really do anything new to spike the difficulty.
But hey, the music's pretty good. The final boss theme is the same recording as the original with extra Junsanoi added for bonus points. Which I can't complain, but also like, damn it, that was my favorite track in the game, dude. I really was expecting something more. But hey, Junsanoi, good job. But they really did nothing to add to this boss fight. This really could have been the way to make Color's Ultimate feel ultimate. Have a huge climax with added moves and a difficulty spike to make the kids feel even more nervous and the fans still feel on their toes instead of playing the same easy boss fight again.
But Hazza, the new Ghost Wisp is here to add a new final color blaster, so there's something new to the boss.
Nope. They didn't even add the Jade Ghost to the final color blaster. The move which is supposed to be all of the friends you befriended coming together to help you to beat Eggman. Sonic Team didn't even bother to tell Blind Squirrel to add the Jade Wisp, completely ruining the symbolism of the ending. Terminal Velocity Act 2 wraps up, the final cutscene plays, and while the visuals are well done, I put down the controller knowing I played a half-finished meaningless adventure. And while it was fun in places, I know deep down that it was an ending in the grand scheme of things meant nothing. I turn off the console knowing that Sonic Colors will never get the justice it truly deserves. And I lie on my bed in a disappointed melancholy, letting the inner child inside of me die, accepting the truth that the art I grew up with wasn't made for me. It was made for a quick dollar. Goodbye, Sonic Colors. I'm sorry you never got to be your true potential. To be colorful. To be ultimate. Nah, just kidding. We still got bucket loads to talk about. Ain't that just right, Staria? You son of a bitch.
The video's finally over, now leave!
Hi guys, it's me, Hazza, and I just want to say thank you for watching all of the video. This actually took a really long time to make, given that this is the first video I've actually worked on with someone else, that being Staria987, who is really cool, and I really hope you check out, because he funny. Apologies if the quality of the artwork and editing have differed a bit, because this project has again been in the works for a really long time, and so if you've noticed a lot of my other content as well has kind of been dipping in quality, this is why. Also, exams exist, which are fun. But yeah, like, share and subscribe, all that stuff, and just kick back, relax, and enjoy this Knuckles Chaotix track till the video ends.